Hi. First of all, I want to say I'm really sorry about the video quality. I was hoping to do my first video set up and properly, but this is completely out of the blue and completely random. This is just something I want to say to address issues, I suppose, that have been raised over the past couple of days that I've seen a lot on my dashboard. I want to raise the issue of being a sex symbol. Now, I've seen a lot of people putting down, and I've seen talks, and I've seen a lot of feminist rants about how being a sex symbol is this terrible, terrible thing. When, in reality, it's completely different to that. Over the past month or so, I have been putting out a lot of pictures and images of myself that a lot of people have disagreed with, and a lot of my followers have disagreed with, and I'm sure most of you will have seen. I'm going to say now there are worse photos of me out there, so if you want to go looking for them, be free to do that. I'm not going to stop you. But that's not where it began. And I'm telling you this so that you have a bit of context, so that you know that what I'm saying isn't just something that I'm saying as an objective bystander, but as someone who's been sort of depicted as a symbol before. Like 2 years ago, I was in a relationship that I wasn't really happy in. I was feeling very lonely. I had like no self-esteem, and so I decided to do something about it, and I did. And I began to post pictures of myself, not naked, tasteful, not nudity. Right, I'm going to start that again. Tasteful photos that were safe for work, because nudity is tasteful completely. It can always be tasteful. I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. But I started posting these pictures, and it made me feel really good. And then I had a lot of interest from guys, and I would have guys messaging me all the time. I would have Skype conversations, and I used to have people and guys from like all over the world, and women too, who would come to me because they wanted a bit of fun, and because they wanted to have a bit of fun, because they saw me as a symbol. And that was quite a good few months. And I'm going to say now that it is true that during those months that I did have a few down periods, like anybody would. I had a few periods where some of the guys that I was talking to regularly didn't quite know the boundary between fun and not fun, and so they used to blur it quite a lot. And so I used to get really down because I would think these people were interested in me, and these guys actually let me be who I am, when in actual fact they weren't. And that's nothing to do with sex at all. That's to do with emotions. So that was kind of a bit of context to show that I have actually been there, and maybe not on a wide scale. I'm not anything like James Dean or Stoya or anybody like that, but in a minor way, and on a small scale, and on a very accessible scale, I became a sex symbol to quite a few people. Now, back to the point of sex symbolism being a bad thing. Yes, in society we completely over-sexualise young women, and we completely over-sexualise young girls to the point where girls now suffer with eating disorders, they suffer with self-esteem, they suffer with worse things like rape is on the rise. Things like that are all associated with women are used for sex. Women should be used for sex. And I take that into account. I can take that point. But don't generalise all sex symbolism to mean the same thing. Any willing participant, any woman, any man who wants to become a sex symbol, who wants to put these photos out there, who wants to be sexy and seen as someone who is sexy and someone who can have sex with you, if that's what they want and if that's what they choose, then that's not a bad thing. I've been targeted by feminists. I'm a feminist, and I've been targeted by feminists saying that I am not I'm not good enough. I'm not one of those people because I choose to do this. And it's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. But to any woman or man or anybody who doesn't associate with the gender binary or in anything, yeah. To anybody who wants to do this, any willing participant, I don't understand how anybody has any problem with it. Like, I am not being used by people. And a lot of people are going to say I am, and a lot of people are going to argue against that and tell me that no, I'm being used, I am being used by society for my body and for my sex. But that's not it at all. Not at all. I chose this. And I'm not naive to the fact that there are people out there who will want to take advantage of that. Of course I'm not naive to that. Whoa! I know exactly what society is like. I've become a victim for myself. I know people who have. And I want to just tell everybody right now, just stop generalising. If you're looking at someone who's been forced into a profession that they don't want to be in, if you're looking at someone who's been over-sexualised, if you're looking at young girls who are over-sexualised without their permission, without their consent, without them warranting to be sexualised, of course you're completely right in saying that's a bad thing. But don't look at us, and don't look at the sex symbols, and don't look at the people who want to be sex symbols and say that we are going to be depressed and lonely for the rest of our lives. Because we're not. Because it's an ego boost. Because it's an amazing feeling. And I completely disagree with anybody who's trying to tell any of us how to live our lives. I mean, I have friends that I've made on this site who have helped me in so many different ways, and I've made those friends because of who I am, and I've accepted them because of who they are. And I just have this complete issue with all of this bias against sex. The fact that the whole idea that sex sells, I just want to address that. I know that I'm going a bit off topic, but the whole idea that sex sells, yes, it's a terrible thing. It's a way that we are dehumanising women to be pieces of meat that we can use to sell objects. We are bringing women down to the level of material objects. And that's the issue that you need to have. The issue of women not being women anymore, the issue of women being objects and pedestals and mannequins that you can use to sell things. The issue of women's sexuality, women's sensuality being taken to sell like your shitty watch or something like that. That's the issue that you need to have. But don't you dare take issue with any woman who believes that her sexuality and her sensuality is a big part of her personality. Don't take issue with porn stars, and don't take issue with burlesque dancers because you think that they are using sex to sell. Because sex does sell. But it sells in the right way, if you want it to be the right way. And that's what people need to realise, and that's why that's the issue that I'm having, is that sex is becoming confused with all these other things that it's just not. And I'm not gonna bullshit anybody and say that sex is this mystical, wonderful thing, because it's not. It can be, but inherently that's not what it is. And if people want to explore that in their own way, then let them. But don't ever tell somebody who they are, what they're feeling, or how confused they must be in order to become sex symbols, and in order to want to be a sex symbol. And I think that's the address that I wanted to make, and that's the problem that I wanted to pose. And I'm sorry for this really hard-hitting video. And I'm also sorry for my voice, because it's terrible. And I apologise if any of that was muddled. Feel free to question me on anything that you didn't understand. But I just wanted to raise the point of sex is not a bad thing. Sex is not an inherently bad thing, and being a sex symbol is not an inherently bad thing. It's when people don't consent to being sex symbols. It's when women are pulled down to being pieces of meat that's the bad stuff. Please don't get them confused, because it comes down to people like us, and it comes down to people like like me and like porn stars and like everybody else out there who wants to be sexy and who wants their sensuality to be part of who they are. And please stop these attacks on people like me and people like my friends just because you don't understand the difference between sex sells and sex is bad. And I'm hoping that this will not be my last video. Hopefully, I wanted to do a proper introduction, but I will hopefully be starting up a channel where you can ask me questions, and I'll be going through anything to do with sex and being a sex symbol and being sexy. If you want to check that out, that'd be cool. I'm hoping to get to the A to Z of everything, so if there's anything you want to see, if there's anything you want to ask me, I'm honestly more than willing to answer questions and talk to you and hopefully educate you on things that you don't understand. Excuse me. So I'm sorry for the hard-hitting video. I'm sorry if you found any of it offensive. I don't mean to offend. If you want me to clarify, or if you were offended by it, let me know and I will try and make amends. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon, hopefully. Bye.